Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Leena Singh, and I welcome all of you to the Burlington English 4th Saturday 4 p.m. webinar. Dr. Swati Popat Vats is joining us, and she's going to do a session on parent partnership and engagement, a very interesting session. I'm joining this webinar from the sunny weather and a very hot weather of Delhi. And I would request all of you who have joined us, if you could put it in the chat, the city from where you are joining and what's the weather like. Is it hot? Is it super hot? Or is it cool? That would be lovely to know, to do a bit of temperature check as we enter into this webinar. Meanwhile, I'm announcing two rules. Number one, uh, all your queries and questions, please raise it in the Q&A section of the Zoom platform that you'll see at the bottom of the platform. And number two, if there is any question that is getting asked, if you want to do any commentary or you want to comment, then please use the chat section of the Zoom platform. Please do not raise hands because of the paucity of time. We will not be able to pass on the mic or screen time to you. But there are two ways through which you can interact with us. One is the Q&A section to raise the questions. Another one is the chat section from where you can pass on the comments or respond to the queries if Dr. Swati raises any. Ma'am, I welcome you once again. It's an honor to have you here with us. And I can tell you, I've got a very good response from people. The people have joined us from Hyderabad, from Kolkata, from Patiala, Aurangabad, Kashmir. And in Kashmir, Imtiaz sir is writing that it's raining cats and dogs. Udaipur, very hot, obviously. Guwahati, Bhopal, and it's sizzling hot in Kolkata, as per Jolly ma'am. Yamunanagar, Varanasi, Kashipur, Ajmer. So you can think of any city of India, and we have someone or the other joining us for this webinar. So over to you, Dr. Swati. Welcome you once again.
Thank you so much, Leena. And thank you to Burlington for creating this platform where educators can come together and learn about things which are pertinent to their profession. And I'm so happy to be here with so many educators. You know that a number of participants keeps going up every time, every minute, every second, and it's heartening to know that even on a Saturday, on a sweltering Saturday afternoon, we have so many educators who want to learn more and who want to be on this platform with Burlington. So thank you so much. Leena, as usual, is going to help me with my slides. So thank you, Leena, once again, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I have to crack this nonsense that my computer does every time. It just refuses to share the slides. So I will always keep needing Leena. So, Leena, can we start the slideshow? So, friends, today the topic which Burlington has chosen, I was very happy with, because it is one of the most burning topics when it comes to ensuring quality education for children. It's parent partnership and engagement. Usually, parents and schools only communicate when it comes to fees or bus issues or books issues, etc. But good quality schools know that the more you partner with parent, the better it's going to be for a child's education. And research, if you will Google it, research has proven this, that when a school has a good partnership with parents, children enroll in the school do much better in their studies and in their overall development. Let's go to the next slide. Today, I'm going to take you through some very pertinent aspects of what parent and engagement should be like, what is partnership, etc. So we are going to look into, delve into a lot of topics today, as you can see on the screen, and we're going to understand what works, what doesn't work, and how best can you have that partnership. I think the pandemic proved to us that we need a very strong partnership with parents, because we may think that as schools we impart education, but we forget sometimes that education also happens at home. So if the parent does not practice the same behavior management practices at home that you do in school, then you will never see a change in the child. If the parent doesn't believe in your values and philosophies, then the child will be confused. Who do I listen to, the parent or the school? So it's very, very important for us to touch base with these six topics today and understand how best to make parent partnership and engagement work. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand first about sharing the power. And if you can see on my slide, it says the power is usually English. So it's very important to understand that we have schools all over the country. We have parents whose first language may not be English, who enroll their child in your school. And then they are at a loss because they can't understand your circulars, they can't understand what you're trying to communicate with them, and they can't understand how to help their child at home. So let's go to the next slide to understand how to share this power, because sharing a power is the most important. Shared responsibility is one of our first and foremost goals. We share the responsibility, as I said, of the child. So when you work together, when you understand that whatever we both do is for the benefit of the child, you will understand that power becomes shared. Power should not lie only with the school or only with the parent. That power of responsibility needs to be shared. Let's see the next slide. As I said, when we talk about English, every parent may not know English. So, a lot of children who come to our schools are first generation English learners. So, their parents may not understand English, may not connect that well to English. So, remove the accessibility barriers. And that's very important. Many a times when I speak to school leaders, they say these parents are very difficult. They're always complaining. And I always try to get to the bottom of it, that why are these parents difficult? And when I speak to the parents, I realize that their main difficulty was communication. So try to ensure that you are communicating to parents in multiple languages as much as possible. I'm not saying have your circulars in multiple languages, but when you know that a particular parent is struggling to understand the communication from school, maybe the teacher can call up the parent and give that information so that the parent feels more comfortable. Because when a human being is comfortable in communication, that human being will always support you. And we want parents that support the school. So look into it. Maybe those parents whom we call difficult could be behaving difficultly because of a lack of communication. Also, we live in a world of technology. We have embraced it so well on our mobile phones. Schools now need to ensure that there are multiple channels of communication with a parent. Try to reach that parent in multiple ways. If a circular doesn't work, a phone call may, a WhatsApp message may, or many of you have these LMS platforms where there is, communication between the parent and the school. But always ensure whatever platform you choose for communication shouldn't be a one-way communication only. For example, I was just helping a school solve their problems with parents, and the parents said that the school uses the portal to send us information, but when we ask a question on the portal, we don't receive an answer. So it's very, very important that we need to share this power of communication with parents and the school. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand that when we talk about communication, when we talk about power, uh, it's very important that schools are no more you know, those I am the school, so you will listen to whatever I say. Those kind of schools don't work anymore. You need to have democratic schools that consider that every stakeholder is very important in the success of the school. So one of the most important things is cultural sensitivity. uh, are you embracing all cultures, or are you somewhere showing a bias in your choice of songs or in your choice of activities? So look into that. Look into your cultural sensitivity. Look into your family sensitivity. I have heard this from parents who are separated, that the school doesn't support them or their needs. So we need to look into and understand that today the definition of a family has changed. You will have single parent families, you would have broken families, you would have same gender families. Are we sensitive to the needs of all families? That's a very important part of parent partnership and engagement. And then, very importantly, are you welcoming feedback? It is said that feedback is the breakfast of champions. So, are you a champion when it comes to accepting feedback? Somewhere, as human beings, we consider feedback as criticism. Maybe it's the way it's told to us, but you can't tell a parent, change your tone and give me the feedback. Sometimes the parent is so upset and angry that the feedback may come out in a way that is not acceptable to you. But it's very important even then to sit across the parent and say, I'm listening, so let's talk about what is troubling you. Even that little sentence, that short sentence of I am listening, helps a lot in communication. Let's understand what's there in the next slide. We talked about sharing power, we talked about communication. I would say the one funda that I would give schools for parent partnership is TRT. Very easy to remember. TRT: time, respect, and transparency. That's it. That's all that parents are asking for. Give us time when we ask for it. Give us respect, because we also play an important role in the success of the school, and have transparency with us, especially when something bad happens in the school. It could be child sexual abuse, it could be anything. Have transparency with your parents and say, look, something like this has happened. We are looking into it and we'll keep you updated. Don't hide things from parents, because that's where the problem starts. Let's see what's there on the next slide. So we've talked about power, we talked about partnership, we talked about TRT. So this is the foundation of having that parent partnership and engagement. If you have this, you are on the right track. Now, many schools ask how to convince parents about play based learning, because now the new NEP talks about experiential learning, which actually boils down to play based learning. So, in the early years, you would have play based learning, and as the child grows older, it becomes experiential learning. But how to convince parents? Because parents are still of that mentality that the more my child writes, or the more my child reads, or the more books and worksheets, the better my child's education. So, how do I talk to the parent? And here we must remember Vygotsky's acronym MKO. What does MKO stand for? It stands for the more knowledgeable other. So, when you are trying to convince the parent, you need to come across as the more knowledgeable other. Let's go to the next slide to understand how can we go about doing that. So, if it comes to play based learning, it's very important that you and your teams must read up on Piaget. Piaget is called the father of cognitive development. And till date, we still haven't come across anybody who so strongly talks about cognitive development. You have Vygotsky, you have Piaget, and you have Jerome Bruner. All three of them talk about cognitive development, study all three of them, and then you will be able to answer the parents very well. For example, Piaget says that there are schemas in place, schemas. So that there are different kinds of play which are called the schemas. So what do these schemas do? If you see on the slide in front of you, what are the schemas? There's trajectory, there's enclosing, there's rotational, there's connecting, there's transporting, there's enveloping, there's orientation, and there's positioning. He says these schemas are the roadways into a child's brain. And these roadways create the child's intelligence. So you see these schemas in children's play. So when you move objects from, or children throw or roll something, that is called the schema of trajectory. So once parents understand how the brain is built, what builds the brain, what do children do with their hands and their eyes and their feet that connects to the brain, this is where a parent would then understand that it's not play that I am seeing, I'm actually seeing brain development in action. Focus on the learning. When you're trying to convince parent, focus on the, it's called play based learning. So which means it's not saying that learning will go away completely. No, it is saying that the learning will wear new clothes of play. So when you put it like that in front of a parent feels, aha, that this sounds very interesting. Structure and planning. As a nation, we are very focused on structure and planning. We want engineers, we want doctors, we want all these kind of things. We want structure, we want planning. So the fear of parents when it comes to play-based learning is, will the structure and planning go away? No, it will not. Reassure parents about it. Reassure parents that play doesn't mean free for all. Play still will mean teachers would be planning. Teachers would plan according to the child's needs, learning needs. So when you put it across like that, parents would then feel more comfortable about embracing a new concept. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand how to highlight the benefits. Highlight the benefits by saying it has a long term impact. That right brain develops first. Right brain learns through play. And right brain is in charge of long term learning or long term memory. So, what do you want for your child? You want your child to remember learning for life, right? So, we are using the right brain to do it, and the right brain loves play. So, long term impact. Cognitive development. I want my child to be intelligent. Yes, play contributes to intelligence. Look at the visual in the center of the circle. It says schemata are like index cards filed in the brain. Each little index card tells you how to react to incoming stimuli or information. So when I play with the play schemas, which I showed you in the previous slide, now my network has happened into the brain. My pathways into the brain have happened. Now I will be able to take in information and I'll be able to file it correctly. That's how play impacts cognitive development. Social and emotional development. Everybody has understood after the pandemic that we are nothing without socio-emotional development. And play gives children the opportunity to practice their socio-emotional skills. So when you put this impact in front of parents, of course they will be convinced about the advantages of play-based learning. Let's go to the next slide. We also need to remember that it will take time for parents to understand. So when that parent is taking time to understand, that's the time to practice something. Practice the transparency and communication. Share with parents. Ask them to come to your classroom and observe what is play based learning. Share resources and articles with them. Share specific examples. For example, a parent came and told me, why are you teaching numbers slowly to children? Other schools are teaching up to 500, and your school has only come up to 20. And I told the parent, I said, wow, Other schools are teaching up to 500. That's very nice. But I'm sure if I ask a child from that school, that other school, to count and give me 123 crayons, I can bet you the child won't be able to do, because what they are focusing on is rote counting. And numbers is not about counting. Number education is about knowing what is the quantity. And that's why, till children have not understood the quantity, we don't move forward. So when you give them examples, they understand why you are doing what you are doing. And then I showed them the games through which we teach numbers. That how can I show quantity to a child? I have to show it concretely, then pictorial, then comes abstract. So while other schools are going into worksheets first, why am I doing concrete and pictorial? Because not only is it given in the NEP, but that's how the brain works. So that's why we are playing with numbers. That's why we are playing with quantity. So simply put, play and the play schemas, they describe our patterns of thinking and behavior. So it's very, very important as educators, read up on Piaget, and it's going to help solve so many of the problems. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand now how to educate parents about the national education policy. I mean, we should be celebrating after almost 34 years. Our policy has been changed and it's a vibrant policy. So, how do we do that? Number one, you can visit the Early Childhood Association webpage and you can download the A to Z of the NEP and the A to Z of the NCF. And in the next slide, I'm going to tell you about the points that you should talk to parents about the NEP and the NCF. Let's go to the next slide. So, first of all, these are the three documents that as a school, every school should go through. The one on the left, the extreme left, is the National Education Policy. The one in the center is the National Curriculum Framework for the foundational stage, which means 3 to 11, 3 years to, pre-primary, 3 years, and 2 years of primary. And then you also have the National Curriculum Framework for school education. And remember why this national education policy is different this time. Previously, we used to get a national education policy and we used to get one national curriculum framework right from the early stages to university. This time, we are going to get 8 national curriculum frameworks. 2 have been released, 6 are yet to be released. Let's go to the next slide. What is it that the parent is interested in? The parent is not interested in 60 pages of the NEP, 360 pages of the National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Years, and 600 pages of the National Curriculum for School Education. 1020 pages. I don't think the parent is interested in that. And that's why I urge you all, if, as you can see the visuals in front of you, we have the A to Z of the NCF for foundational years and the A to Z of the NCF for school education. You can download it free, go through it, and even share copies of it with parents. Let's go to the next slide. What is it that the parent mostly wants to hear about the national curriculum framework? How will it impact me as a parent? Very simply put. So when you're talking to them about the national education policy, avoid educational jargon. Sometimes experiential learning is also a jargon for parents. They don't understand what is experiential learning. Tell me, show me, and educate me. Number two, focus on the benefits. Always focus on the benefits. I heard one school principal tell parents that I'm doing it because the government has asked me to do it. No, don't do that. By saying that, you are saying that you don't understand it, you don't support it, but you're doing it just because the government has asked you to do it. Explain how the NEP will positively impact their child's education, and it will. Provide information in multiple formats. Have a workshop in their language that they can understand. Sometimes the local language is something that they really value. Sometimes a combination of English and the local language works. But help them understand what it actually means. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand that the most important thing that will impact parents is the new academic system. So you previously had, one system, and now you have another system. So look at the visual that I've given on the left hand side. It tells you how the new education policy is going to break up the classes now. Previously, parents were used to pre primary, primary, secondary. Now that has changed. So, talk to them about the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 school structure. What does it mean? Start with a simple thing like that. Talk about the assessment reforms, that the national education policy doesn't want us to give your child grades and percentages and marks, and talk to them about how it's important and how it will be followed at all stages, so that the parent doesn't get confused, अरे तो board exam के result कैसे आएंगे. Talk about the increased flexibility in choice of subjects, because now a child can choose different combinations. So focus on the more important things that are going to impact the parent. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand about addressing their concerns. Very importantly, they're going to have certain concerns. Oh, percentage nahi hai. Oh, marks nahi hai. Oh, grades nahi hai. To kya hoga? What will happen? Show them the 4 stages of learning trajectory, which is given in the NEP, and it talks about, that you will now have four steps of progression for the child. It will start with beginner, and then move on right up to the end till advanced. So we are not looking at clubbing your child into a marks. We're not going to label your child with a grade or a marks. We're actually going to tell you where your child is on the learning trajectory, beginner, progressing, where is your child, so that we can help your child as an individual learner. And yes, there will be some parents who may still not be convinced. Talk to them individually. Instead of talking to them in a group, call them individually and talk to them and sort their questions out. That's the best way to handle queries, questions, concerns about the national education policy. Saying because the government has given, so I'm doing, does not reassure parents. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about partnership for learning, especially open house. So if you ask parents, what is your parent partnership? How do you see it? So they say parents, how we call them for open houses and then we meet them, and that's all. Friends, this may sound a little surprising to you, but I am controversy's child. And I always say that for me, open houses look like speed dating. You have a teacher sitting in front of a parent, and she is given that parent 7 minutes, and in that 7 minutes the teacher and the parent have to communicate, and then ping, oh, it's time for me to move on to the next parent. So it just doesn't help. It's just a formality. Let's go to the next slide to understand what can be done about that. So as I said, it's parent teacher meeting, not speed dating. So go beyond the report card. I mean, a parent knows how to see a report card. So don't discuss the report card. Your child got this much in this subject. No, that's not the time to talk about that. Talk about learning goals. What is the goal that you have kept for your child, for that parent's child? Somehow I always feel that open houses are used as complaint centers for the teacher to tell the parent, your child doesn't listen in the class, your child doesn't write, your child has scored very badly in physics. So the parent is not seeing any cooperation, any suggestions, any learning goals emerging. So many parents don't come for open houses, if you must have noticed, because they feel I'm just going to be embarrassed. I'm just going to hear bad things about my child, so might as well not go for open house. So make open houses about shared learning goals. That we are going to do this in the school to help your child progress from where your child is to where we want your child. And we want you to do this at home. So it becomes a shared learning goal. So give them home based activities. You will say, but parents don't do them. Parents don't do them when they are not convinced about it and when you don't have a rapport with them. When you have a good rapport with parents to please you, they will ensure that they listen to you. There are so many schools I know who have a positively thriving parent engagement program in which the parents lap up every word that the school says and want to do what the schools tell them. So if you feel that parents don't listen to you, then that's one indication that you need to work on your parent partnership and engagement. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand how to give feedback to parents about their child and about themselves. Because sometimes you may have parents who are rude, who are disrespectful, how to give them feedback about themselves. So, before I start on talking about how to give them feedback about their child, let me tell you something about the human brain. We have a small part in our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is the security center of the brain. It's very sensitive to emotions. So, when there is any emotional upheaval, or if I'm angry, if I'm upset, if I'm frustrated, if I'm irritated, the amygdala shuts down my thinking brain. So, which means now my thinking brain is not working, only my emotional brain is going all over the place. So, when you see a parent who is shouting and screaming and insulting and disrespectful, it means their amygdala has taken over their thinking brain. Now, if you are going to tell this parent, don't talk like that to me, calm down. Oh dear, you have inflamed that amygdala even more. So instead of quietening the amygdala and opening up the thinking brain, you have set fire to the amygdala. So you must, as an educator, understand to recognize when the amygdala is overactive. Because when a parent's amygdala becomes overactive, the parent needs a quieter amygdala, which is yours, which is when you say, I am listening to you and I want to know more about how you are feeling. Let's sit down here. Quietly push a glass of water towards them. Don't say, would you like a glass of water? You seem upset. The amygdala will go into volcano mode. So it's very, very important for us to understand that when you want to give feedback to a parent, to an angry parent, that you can't talk to me like this, you can't behave like this in this school, you will have to ensure first that a calm amygdala is talking to an inflamed amygdala. Because the only thing that calms down an inflamed amygdala is a calm amygdala. When that amygdala quietens, is when you are saying to the parent, look, I'm there and I'm always there, you know that. But there are certain ways that we talk in this school. We don't talk disrespectfully to each other. We don't raise our voices because we respect children. This is a school. So when you use these words, instead of saying, don't talk to me like that, it's not allowed in my school. What have you done? You have, with your choice of words, distanced that parent and inflamed that parent's amygdala. So I always say that good educators know brain development and good educators know how to calm down a brain. That's how to give feedback to a parent about themselves. Now let's go to the next slide to understand how to give them feedback about their child. Because it's very difficult for parents to take feedback about their child. And it's so sad. You know, there are sometimes certain issues that you see in their children. If we do early intervention, the child can become better. But we spend sometimes 2 years, 3 years convincing a parent that, look, this there is this problem and we need to work on this together, but a parent refuses to accept it. What works best is the sandwich method. What is the sandwich method? The sandwich method has 3 steps. Step 1, or the top bread, is where you start with positive reinforcement. You always tell the parent that your child is good at something. Highlight the child's strengths, and don't say your child is a very good boy or a very good girl. That's not specific. Say things like your child always loves to take responsibility in the class, worries about the other children, cares about the other children. Talk about specific things. Start the conversation on a positive note. Let's go to the next slide. And then you go to the center of the sandwich, which is where the mal masala is there. This is where you are going to talk about what you want to give them feedback on. And here again, you have to be very clear that you are the educator. So you are not going to point fingers at them. You're not going to label them or their child. So focus on the behavior, not the personality. So if you want to tell the parent that your child misbehaves in the class, your child always misbehaves in the class is not the right way to put it. You have to say that there are instances where I feel your child's behavior can be better. So, how you frame also works. Uh, Use things like I have noticed, I have experienced, so that they know that it's not the whole school against their child. You know, when you say we have noticed, we have this thing, it makes the parent feel that the whole school is against the child. Offer solutions always. No feedback is complete unless you're not going to offer solutions. So when you're giving that feedback about the child's behavior or about the child's inability to complete a task, or wanting to, you have to put in too much effort to make the child learn, give a solution. And then also tell them, where have you noticed the child not doing what the child is not doing? So specific examples help the child. So if you're help the parent. So if you're saying your child doesn't complete the task on time, carry some examples with evidence of, 20 minutes was given for this task, but it took your child 40 minutes to complete it in spite of constant reminders. And this is going to impact your child's participation and experience achievement in so many other activities in his education and life. So when you tell them that you care, but this is the problem, you're stating the problem, a parent would still want to listen and work on it. And of course, the next step, let's go to the next slide. The last step of a sandwich is you close again on a positive note. So you are saying, I am there for you. The school is there for your child. We are going to work on this together. You are going to show more confidence to the parent that look at the positive aspects of your child. Let's work on this together, so that your child doesn't get known only for these things, but gets known for what the child is good at also. Keep open communication, that if you feel frustrated, I'm here to talk. If you're unable to support your child, I'm here to talk to. And again, give proper examples. So it's very, very important to use the sandwich method, because the sandwich method works the best. And believe you me, it also works when you're handling difficult staff. Try it. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand this slide. This is one of my favorite slides, because I always come across people who say, how do I convince parents? And parents who say, nay, nay, but this is how it was always done. Look at the picture I've put on the left. I call it the "100 Saal Pehle," because there is a song which I love, "100 Saal Pehle," right? So, "100 Saal Pehle, टेलीफोन कैसा था, डायल फोन था, और आज कैसा है, आज स्मार्टफोन है." बट लुक एट द स्कूल्स, 100 साल पहले स्कूल देखो कैसा था, आज भी है और कल नहीं रहना चाहिए. We have to learn to change. I always tell parents, you moved from the dial phone to the smartphone. Why don't you want the school and the educational practices also to move from dial phone to smartphone? So when schools tell me we are doing it because parents are telling us to do it, I show them the visual on the right. Look at the visual on the right. It shows a baby lying in the crib, and the parents have put this nice thing hanging on the baby which has animals, and the parents are feeling, wow, so sweet. Look what my child, what my baby is able to see these lovely animals. But let's look at it from the point of view of the child. Look at it. What is the child seeing? It's a baby lying like this. On the top are these animals. What is the baby able to see? The bottoms of the animals. The child is not able to see the animals. The baby is seeing buttocks, bottoms. So it's very important for us to understand and make parents understand education can never be from the point of view of the adults. Education has to be from the point of view of the child. And that's why I've coined a term, kiducation. Education from the point of view of the child. Let's look at the next slide. Let's see this next slide to understand that there are some practices which are abhorrent in our country, in education per se. Writing. We make children write so much. I think these visuals are self explanatory. Why do we want to cage children in writing when they want to escape from it? Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about things like rote learning, cursive, homework. How do we change them? Rote learning versus understanding. I just gave you an example of that parent who told me 500 tak sikhate hain. Why are you teaching only till 20? Rote learning is necessary. Please understand that. Even in the NEP, it is written smriti. Smriti means memory. Memory is important for certain tasks, but everything cannot be taught through rote learning. Rote learning means I have by hearted something without understanding it. And sometimes children by heart a lot of things and they are able to say it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They are able to say it, but they don't know if I ask them, beta, what comes after 9? And the child will have to say again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The child will not know. That's rote learning because the child has not understood it. Cursive handwriting. Oh, we are a country in love with cursive handwriting. How many of you use cursive handwriting? And many of you will raise your hands, but I will ask you again, have a look at your handwriting. Is it cursive or is it joined handwriting? Are you still following the curves and the loops and the whatever the cursive has, or have you shifted to joined handwriting for speed of handwriting? And that's exactly what a school inspectress in UK called Marian Richardson noticed. She saw that children were struggling with the loops and curls and curves of cursive and ended up hating handwriting. So she developed a font called the Marian Richardson font. Every letter has a curve to hook on to the next letter so that when you are writing, you get your speed and you get your clarity also. Cursive, especially in the early years, is bad because children learn to stand, walk, and then run. So, similarly, in writing, it's print, joined, and then cursive. You can't start cursive first because children are reading and writing together. Reading happens in print. So, if you're going to make me write in cursive and read in print, oh my God, either my reading is going to suffer or my writing is going to suffer. Homework, we call it home play. And parents say, but play ghar pe bhi? Oh my God, homework do na, please give homework. They think if the child comes home with a lot of homework, that means the school is doing a good job. But there are schools who want to move away from this concept, but they're not able to convince the parents. So advocate for it, talk about it. That what do you think is going to be lost if I don't give homework? You think your child will not become intelligent? Look at these activities that I'm giving, in which your child will have to think logically, analytically, So then a parent will feel, this is definitely better. So convince parents about newer approaches. Don't give up on embracing a new approach just because the Bajuwala school still does the old thing. You are not in education to compete with the Bajuwala school. You are in education to ensure that every child in your school gets the best. And sometimes the best is not what everyone is practicing, but the best is what is right for children. Remember, education. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand that there is research to change your practices. For example, teachers are always armed with a red pen. They want to correct with a red pen. Schools world over have shifted from a red pen to a green or a blue because neuroscience has proven that seeing red marks on their paper scares children. Their amygdala goes ding, 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 and their thinking brain stops. Cursive, proof there right in front of you. Cursive, and I've given you so many examples of why not. Let's move to the next slide. Let's understand this, the red and blue line. I call it the red and blue line monster in schools. We love to use red and blue line books. I asked a principal who invented the red and blue line books. She said, I don't know. Uh, uh, our school has always used it. I have never questioned it. I said, do you know the benefits of red and blue line compared to the three line concept? So she said, no, I don't even know what is the three line concept. Publishers don't have books called three lines. So in our country, we are going ahead with red and blue lines without understanding, are they really necessary? Now look at on your left, we have a red and blue line on which a child has written capital G and small g. For the capital G, the child required the top three lines, which means the one red line and two blue lines. For the small g, the child required the bottom three lines, which is two blue and one red. Now go to the extreme right of my slide. Ultimate goal of all your schools is for the child to write in a single line book. And the single line has a top line and a bottom line. So when children transit from a red and blue line to a single line book, those teachers go through torture. Because in that class, the children hang the G's or everything in the middle of the two lines. They don't know how to write. They don't know how to transition from here to here. And there comes in the new age version, the smartphone version of books, of writing, called the three line. Look at it in the center. You have the same size as a single line, but you have a dotted line in the middle. And that dotted line becomes those trainer wheels. You know how when you give a bicycle to a child, you put those trainer wheels, and when the child starts riding the bicycle, you just remove the wheels. This dotted line is like that. Children learn to write all small letters below the dotted line. And they learn that all hanging letters go from one dotted line to the next dotted line. And voila, your children have learned how to write in a single line book. All that happens is the dotted line disappears. But no, we are so stuck on our red and blue lines because the publishers in this country don't give you the option of the three line. Think about it. I told you, I'm controversy's child. Let's go to the next slide. Let's look at how to address parental concerns if you're trying to bring about major change. Reassure to the parents that even because though things have changed from red and blue lines, say for example, red and blue lines to three lines, your children are still writing. Your children will still learn all the levels of writing and nothing will suffer. Number two, provide resources. Show them articles, show them evidence, show them proof, show them pictures, and be open to communication. You will have to talk to them. For example, let me give you an example. When we opened our first school in a city called Jalna in Aurangabad, we had just two books in the pre-primary, and these parents, hordes of them came and started shouting at me that other schools have 20 books and you have only two. And I told these parents, let's think about this. That school is giving 20 books to your child, which means the school is spending money buying those books and giving those books to you at a cost. I am giving you only two books. What could be that I don't want to make money? I could have also bought 20 books and told you to buy them. Think about it. Why didn't I do it? It's going to help me if I make you buy 20 books. I did not make you buy 20 books. I made you buy two books. Think about it. Why? Because for me, your child matters the most. And these 20 books are not required for a 4-year old. And that's why we've just given two books, which is a rhyme book and another book. And that convinced the parents. So it's all about open communication, standing by what you believe in, and telling them about it till they are convinced. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand. I put the picture again here in the middle. Focus on the why. If you tell the parents that your change is because it will benefit the child, no parent will say no to you. Respectful communication. Don't say, who are you to question what the school is doing? Oh, they are everybody, they pay the fees. So don't say that. Respectful communication. And don't try to bring too many changes together. Start small, start one at a time, and always keep them informed. Let's go to the next slide. Let's understand the 3 E's of parent partnership. Everything that I've spoken to you till now are on the 3 E's of parent partnership. Empathize. If the parent is angry and upset, empathize. What would you have done if you were in the parent's place? Educate. Always educate parents. The more you educate parents, the more they'll come along with you. And empower them. Power. Empower also has the word power. And I started with the word power in my presentation. Power is everything. When you take it away, when you strip somebody of their power, be it a child, be it an adult, that person's amygdala is going to go ding, ding, ding. But when you empower someone, you have opened up the thinking brain, and the person will listen to you, support you, and be with you. Let's go to the next slide, which is the end of my session. I hope you were able to take in some takeaways. And it's very, very important that parent partnership and engagement has to be the cornerstone of every successful school. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Over to you, Leena.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. It was an amazing session. And I can tell you that my amygdala was calm and not going ding, ding, ding. But one thing is going ding, ding, ding. That is the chat section where I'm receiving the messages and all the participants are writing that they found this session wonderful, excellent. This is also that time that we have enough time to take 3 questions. So I would request all the participants to write those questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom platform. So if you want to ask a question about the content that was spoken in this webinar, please do write it in the Q&A section. We have few minutes to take at the most 3 questions. So, oh, it's now it's raining questions. So the first question is from Sapna Kohli ma'am. First of all, she has greeted you, and then she's asking, does sandwich method work for all types of children?
Oh, yes, it does. Uh, every child wants to know whether I please you or not. Every child has that innate urge to know whether you are happy with me or not. So when you start by saying to a child, I love the way you always do your drawings. And then you say, But there is always a time limit. You must learn to adhere to that time limit. But once you will stick to the time limit, you see how superbly you will be able to do your drawings, because that's what I love about you. See, I use the sandwich method. Every child, try it. I've used it with children of all age groups, including the terrible twos and the terrible teenagers. Because not many people know that at the age of 2, the brain goes through a massive change. Same change happens when a child is a teenager. Both are.
Okay. So the other question is from Chanchal Dubey ma'am, and she has asked how we can make the change in approach, like from red blue line copy to black 3-line notebook. I mean, how, if, are there any suggestions that you may have for them?
You just have to strip the bandage. You know how you have to rip the band-aid. Just rip it. You plan for it, get your books in order, get your teachers in order. At the end of the academic year, have a meeting with the parents and announce that from next year we are shifting to the 3 lines, and why. And that's it. If you are ready with everything, if you are ready, your teachers are convinced about it, they will be able to convince the parents. And yes, if there are children in your school who have used red and blue lines and are now transiting to the 3 lines, you will also have to do a session for them to help them understand why the change. Come on, we are talking about parents and children who moved from physical classrooms to online classrooms to physical classrooms. They are now resilient enough for any education change.
So there are a few teachers who have asked this question. Is one part of it is that how do you deal with the parent of an aggressive student? And the other one, so this is from Shivani Singh ma'am and one more teacher. And Umita Datta ma'am has asked ma'am that how do you convince parents to understand if their wards are special child and need special attention?
I know. I'm going to touch on the special child first. It's very difficult for parents to accept that they have a special child. And here I would like you to say empathize. If it was your child, it would be difficult for you also, because when you tell a child parent that your child has certain special needs, the parent first starts blaming themselves, that there's something wrong in me because of which my child may be like this. So understand that this parent requires to adjust to the idea that my child can be different from the others and my child has special needs. So it's very, very important to break this to a parent in a very empathetic way, and also to get an expert who is empathetic to talk to the parent that what would happen if early intervention does not start. So I fully understand that you are going through this emotional turmoil right now, that how can my child have something like this? But let's understand right now you have to deal with two things. You have to deal with your own emotions, and you also have to deal with this issue in front of you. So while you are dealing with your emotions, think about your child, because you're a parent first. And if we lose on this time, the early intervention window will close for your child. So when you put it across to the parent does understand, but you will always get some difficult parents. But I always say, keep on talking to them calmly but firmly, and they will listen. And now coming to aggressive children, uh, I have always had aggressive children in my class when I was a teacher. In fact, other teachers would shift their aggressive children to my class. So I would end up with more than 70% of children in my class who were aggressive. And the only thing that works with aggressive children is firmness. Make it very clear to them that these are the rules in my classroom, and I will not accept it if you are going to hit somebody or hurt somebody. Aggression is fine. They are yelling, they are screaming, they are running around. That's not aggression. Maria Montessori says that don't try to work on all kinds of behavior. Bad behavior is the behavior that either harms themselves or others or property. So if the child is harming himself, herself, or others or the property, then that child needs to be worked on. And if you see in the National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Years, go to the section on behavior management. The document has beautifully given to you how to identify the problem and how to work on it. It's there in my A to Z also. Have a look at it.
Uh, there are many more questions, but the time we have run out of time. I'll just address two queries. One, that would you get the certificate of participation? Yes, it'll be emailed to all of you. There's a request that can't we have these sessions twice a month? I mean, we would really want it daily, but we are talking right now, fourth Saturday, 4 p.m. webinars with Dr. Swati, and we'll keep coming back to you with another webinar in the month of May. Just watch out the space for the information for that webinar. Well, that will happen in the month of May. Once again, I thank all the participants who stayed on and gained from this session. And thank you so much, Dr. Swati, for this informative session.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you.